Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to Everton's 3-1 defeat at Goodison Park yesterday to Bournemouth in the last game of the 2019-20 season. Finally we can say goodbye to that absolutely dreadful season. Everton finishing in 12th position, which is our lowest league finish in 16 years, and I believe only the second lowest. We've only finished lower than that twice in my lifetime of 21 years. So it's been an absolutely abysmal season, hasn't it? From starting under Marco Silva to losing the games against Aston Villa and Norwich. You know, yesterday was, I think, the second time that we've lost or we've failed to pick up a win against two of the relegated sides, which is absolutely abysmal, to be honest with you. And again, what Bournemouth doing the double over us yesterday, beating us 3-1 at Goodison Park, beat us early in the year as well, and it just captivated what has been an absolutely dreadful season. It summed up the season perfectly, like I said, starting under Marco Silva. It got gradually better towards the end with Carlo Ancelotti, but it's still really, really evident that this team isn't good enough. It's still really, really evident that these players aren't good enough, and, you know, a lot of work needs to be done in the transfer window. The transfer window officially opened today. It opened at midnight, so there's a lot of work to be done by Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands, and I think we all know that. Listen, we're not going to talk too much about, you know, the season as a whole, because we're going to do a season review. We're going to do it over 2 live streams starting on Wednesday. We'll do the first part of it, which will cover pretty much the first half of the season from the first game to when Marco Silva was sacked, and then on Friday we'll continue it from Duncan Ferguson's appointment to, of course, the last game of the season, which was yesterday. But we're just going to talk about the Bournemouth game today. Look, Again, I don't really feel comfortable sitting and talking about this game and having to mention it being Leighton Baines' last game in an Everton shirt at the same time. I feel really, really annoyed that the last time we'll ever see an absolute Everton legend put on that royal blue is in that type of performance yesterday, in that type of game. We were absolutely atrocious from pretty much start to finish, and we knew that. Coming into this game, we knew that Bournemouth were, again, you know, backs against the wall. We knew that Bournemouth's fate was completely out of their hands. They absolutely had to win if they wanted any chance of staying in the Premier League. And even when they won, they still went down because of other results that didn't go their way. So we knew at the very, very least that Bournemouth were going to come, and Bournemouth were going to fight, and Bournemouth were going to try and throw everything at our goal in order to score. And that's exactly what they done yesterday. They weren't bothered about the possession. I think Everton had something stupid like 77% of possession at one point. Bournemouth weren't bothered about that. They were lumping the ball forward, they were creating opportunities, and they were just running at us, and we couldn't deal with the pressure. And that was always the fear going into yesterday's game, is that a Bournemouth going to turn up with this do or die mentality of, right, okay, we just need to go out there and we just need to score, so don't worry about your, you know, fannying about, don't worry about your neat passes, don't worry about your possession, just go out there and win the game of football. And if they do turn up like that, are Everton going to turn up with the flip-flops on, sitting around, you know, thinking, oh well, we're going on holiday in a couple of days, or this is the last game of the season? A Premier League season is 38 games long. It's not 37 games long. There's no room for flip-flops on in the last game of the season because you've got nothing to fight for. We should have went out there yesterday, if for nothing whatsoever other than to make sure Leighton Baines' last game in an Everton shirt, or last time being at Goodison Park as a player, was a memorable one. And it was a memorable one, but unfortunately for the wrong reasons. We were absolutely atrocious. And like I said, it really, really angers me that I'm sitting here, and we'll talk a little bit about Leighton Baines' retirement in a minute. Obviously, I did a little video yesterday. Massive thank you for all of the support on yesterday's videos, including that one. But it angers me that we're sitting here talking about this game in the same conversation as Leighton Baines' last performance for Everton. Not only was there nobody to see it, not only was there no fans there to celebrate it, but, you know, we had to witness an absolutely dreadful performance. And again, you know, a lot of Blues, including myself, are probably just happy to see the back of that season and happy to, you know, put it behind us now and move forward. It was absolutely atrocious, like you said, worst league finish in 16 years, 12th position in the league. Again, it got marginally better under Carlo Ancelotti, but he's not a magician. He can't work with, you know, if his tools are broken, he's not going to be able to work with them ultimately. And I think a lot has been proven, certainly over the last couple of weeks. And Carlo Ancelotti's come out multiple times in pretty much every post-game interview and spoken about how, you know, we need to improve in the transfer window, and it's imperative that we bring players in because the current squad isn't good enough. So anyway, like I said, we started yesterday's game and we knew that Bournemouth were going to come at us. We knew that Bournemouth's game plan was simply going to be to score goals. They were simply coming to lump the ball forward and to try and create as many opportunities as they possibly can to give them the best chance of winning the game of football, and we just couldn't soak that up. I thought defensively yesterday we struggled. It was the first time in a while where that the entire defence sort of struggled to maintain that. Bournemouth are a very physical side. They've got players with pace, they've got players with energy, and we just couldn't handle that yesterday. And that is utterly embarrassing, the fact that we've just been beaten because we couldn't handle a side that have just been relegated and that have genuinely had a really, really poor season this season. Now, don't get me wrong, creativity is a massive issue with Everton, but the fact that they come at us and they just bullied us and they just had us all over, and they, again, weren't asked about the possession. I'd like us to be like that. I'm not asked if we've got 77% of possession or 90% of possession. Whoever wins the game is the most important. Whoever comes away with that 3 points on Bournemouth did yesterday. So you could tell within the first 5 or 10 minutes that it wasn't going to be a great day for Everton. They were pressing at us. We had an opportunity early on, but it was a half opportunity, and Bournemouth were constantly getting at us, and Bournemouth were constantly putting pressure on us and putting the defence under pressure, and you knew sort of straight away that their game plan was very much, we just need to win this game, so just go out there and score. And maybe they should have adopted a similar game plan earlier on in the season, or definitely since the restart of the Premier League, because they'd probably pick more points up rather than trying to go at it with a clever head. They simply went at this game to just win it, and that's what they done yesterday. But like I said, you could see within the first 10 or 15 minutes that Everton were going to struggle. We weren't putting up with that sort of level of energy. We weren't putting up with that style of just getting the ball lumped at us and trying to defend it. We just weren't doing well, defending that. Obviously, again, game carries on. Bournemouth haven't got a lot going forward because, again, they've struggled in terms of going forward this season. But Everton as well, we aren't creating much. And what disappointed me the most in this game is Carlo Ancelotti obviously set out with the 4-2-3-1 formation, the same formation as that he set out against Sheffield United. And a lot of us were very complimentary of the midfield in that game against Sheffield United. And I think a lot of fans sort of said, well, hang on, let's reserve our reservations on somebody like an Andre Gomes, for example, because he's now playing in a position where he's more comfortable. He's now playing in a position where he's used to it. He's got 2 other midfielders next to him. He can just stand on the ball. He can just play the silky passes. I think yesterday proved that various players in this squad just simply aren't good enough, whether it be Andre Gomes, whether it be Tom Davies, whether it be Sigurdsson. I don't give a shit what position they play, they're just simply not good enough. And in a way you could see that as a positive, considering there was nothing to play for us and it was last game of the season, and now Carlo Ancelotti has seen that. He knows that, okay, maybe the Sheffield United game was a one-off and these players, even in the preferred position, simply aren't good enough. But we were getting put under pressure. Bournemouth were coming at us, and it was quite clear the intent that Bournemouth had in this game, and that they were coming at it to win us. I had to win it, and we should have known that from the start, because ultimately they had to win it if they wanted any chance of staying in the Premier League. Like I said, first half goes on, Everton aren't really doing much, we're not really getting at them, we're not really creating anything, we're getting put under a lot of pressure. We had a decent amount of the ball, but we're not doing anything with it. Bournemouth are pressing us high, and again, you've got that issue where whenever teams look at Everton and think, right, okay, as soon as they get the ball, get on them. As soon as they get the ball, get into them. Don't let them have a minute on it, because if you sit back against an Andre Gomes, if you're an opposition player, and let him have 25 minutes on the ball, he's probably going to find a decent pass, he's probably going to play a nice silky pass, or he might even put a ball over the top, which could lead to a goal. But if you're on him straight away, if you're getting at him, if you're not giving him a moment's time, to think about his next move, he's going to make a mistake, because he cannot put up with that pressure. And Bournemouth seen that exactly like Villa did, exactly like Southampton did a couple of weeks ago, and they jumped on it straight away. They jumped on it, and we were making mistakes, and then the passing was, poor, and we just didn't have anything about us. We looked like a side that had literally just, had a phone call saying, just fancy turning up for a little 11-a-side game and having a little kickabout before you go on holiday, and we've gone, yeah, go ahead. Again, almost like a defeated mentality before the game has started. And I'm not happy to say, oh, well, it's last game of the season and it doesn't really matter, because it does really matter, doesn't it? Because again, like I said, you play 38 games in the Premier League season, and there was a lot on the line for Bournemouth. And if Everton had turned around yesterday and went, we know there's a lot on the line for you, but we're still going to beat you, shake your hand, if you go down, sorry, whatever, then, I had sat here and said, you know what, I like that mentality, I like that we don't really give a fuck what your situation is, because we need to win for us. I had a massive fear going into this game that Everton had played their usual, oh, you need points, oh, you need help, and we are, well, there's nothing in the game for us, so we are, you have a 3 points. And I'm not saying that was the mentality, and I don't think that was the mentality by Carlo Ancelotti, but I do feel that the players were complacent yesterday, and that's shown through. So anyway, the first half goes on, and we give away a penalty. Ball comes into the box, again, it's a shot, which is probably going to hit a certain player in the box, if it's anyone, but Richarlison decides to go at it with his arm. Now, I've seen a couple of people on Twitter debating whether this is a penalty or not. For me, it's a blatant penalty. You just cannot do that in this day and age. You can't lean into the ball with your elbow and lean towards the ball with your elbow. It is always going to be given. Chris Kavanagh, not only is he a woeful referee, but he will take any opportunity he can to give a decision against Everton Football Club, and that was probably one of the easiest decisions he'll have to make in his career. It's blatant. It's silly by Richarlison. The fact that he leads with his arm. Listen, I love Richarlison. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and I think he's been probably one of our best players. Well, he's definitely been one of our best players this season, arguably our best, but it was a silly decision by him. It was a silly decision. He shouldn't have leant in with his arm. He shouldn't have pushed his body that way. If he couldn't get his chest to it, or he couldn't get his foot to it, or he couldn't get his head to it, leave it. And then if it goes past you, then what's the worst people can say? Poor positioning. But the fact that you leant with his arm, you knew it was always going to be given as soon as it hit him. I think it's Josh King steps up, scores the penalty, and all of a sudden Everton are behind, 1-0 down, and you can't say we didn't deserve it. You can't say Bournemouth at that point didn't deserve to be 1-0 up. They'd pressured us an awful lot more. We had nothing going forward. We were creating very little. The midfield again was absent, was absolutely absent throughout the entirety of the game. And Bournemouth were the team that looked like they wanted to win the game, and they deserved that goal at that point. A couple of minutes later, again, another penalty situation. The ball gets struck against Luca Dean's arm, I believe it is. This one was deemed not a penalty by VAR. I tweeted out that it was a little bit lucky, and somebody said that, it's never a penalty. I don't think it was a penalty either, but ultimately, the handball rule is so blurred in this league. It's absolutely atrocious how blurred the handball rule is in the Premier League, by the way. The fact that, one decision can be a handball, and that the very same decision at the other end of the pitch is deemed not a handball is pretty embarrassing. And we'll talk about the penalty that Everton probably should have had a little bit later on in the game, a little bit later on in the stream, sorry. But yeah, again, ball gets stuck against Luca Dean's arm, I believe it is. It's deemed not a penalty. Right decision ultimately, because he can't really escape it, and it's unintentional. But I have seen them given, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it had been given, considering the penalties that we've had given against us already this season. So again, Everton get away with one. We're still nowhere near in the game. We haven't reacted. We haven't looked like, oh shit, let's get back into this game again. We've just looked like, we've conceded, whatever, let's just stroll around the pitch and just act like we're not really interested and we don't want to be here. And that's really frustrating to say. I wish the players had come out before the game and went, you know what, everyone, don't fucking bother watching this game, because we're just going to go out there and we're just going to be thinking about our holidays. We're going to be thinking about, I wonder what sun cream we've got in ours, or I wonder what flip-flops I'll take. Shall I take the Gucci ones? Shall I take the Louis Vuitton ones? Oh, have I checked in on the online app? Oh, have I picked the seats? If they were just going to be thinking about that for the entire game, then just say, listen, don't fucking bother watching, because we're not going to turn up and we're not going to perform. Certainly in a game where, usually a typical last game of the season, it'd be two teams that are playing with not much on the line whatsoever, and it will probably end up a boring 0-0 draw, or somebody would nick a goal and it'd be a dreadful game of football. For Bournemouth, this was a fantastic game of football to watch, because they had something to fight for and they turned up and fought. And I don't know any Everton fan that sat here before the game and didn't have fears that we wouldn't turn up and fight, and we didn't, and that was why we were beaten yesterday. But anyway, again, first half goes on, a good bit of play from Seamus Coleman down the right hand side, passes it to Theo Walcott. Theo puts a good ball into the box, and all of a sudden Moise Kean taps it away, and it's 1-1. Totally undeserved at that point, but it was deserved for Moise Kean. I thought throughout the entirety of the first half, Moise Kean was the only Everton player on the pitch to have looked like he wanted to get back into the game. He looked like he had something to prove. And you know what? I really like Moise Kean. I really do. I know there's a lot of fans that have still got reservations out, and I know there's a lot of fans that aren't really impressed by him. But Moise Kean, I think, has only started 6 games of football for Everton this season. He scored in 2 of them. I think he scored in 2 successive starts as well. The one against Newcastle and the one against Bournemouth yesterday. In that Newcastle game, he was man of the match as well by a country mile. Before he was taken off, and then obviously we threw the game. And yesterday I thought he was man of the match in an Everton shirt again. The lad's showing that when he gets his head down and when he works hard and when he's given the chance, he genuinely will, take the chance. Not only his goal, which again is a pretty simple tap in at the back post, but again he's in the right place at the right time. How many balls have we seen fired across the box since the return of football? How many balls have we seen lashed across the box and there's simply been nobody there? Whether it be Richarlison, whether it be Anthony Gordon, whether it be Walcott, countless amounts of times. Probably 10 plus times I've seen over the last few games, whether it be the Villa game, Southampton game, Spurs game, even the game against Sheffield United that we won the other day. Countless amount of times I've seen balls get flashed across the box and they become of nothing because there's nobody there to tap them in. Moise Kean was in the right place at the right time, but not only that, throughout the entirety of the first half I thought he was fantastic. You know, he was showing a physical side to him. His touch was very, very good. He wasn't trying to do anything spectacular. He wasn't trying to do anything too extra, against the grain. He was just picking the ball up, using his body, using his strength. If he could take a man on, he'd take a man on. If not, he'd pass it back and he'd move. And that's the simplistic, part of the game that I think a lot of these players need to nail down. And don't get me wrong, a lot of these players won't be playing for Everton next season, and if they are playing for Everton, it'll be an absolute tragedy because they're nowhere near good enough. But the players that are good enough, your Dominic Calvert-Lewins, your Richarlisons, even some of the players through the midfield, Anthony Gordon, they need to work on being able to pick that ball off and get it out straight away. If there's not a better option on, pass it and go, pass it and move, pass it and move. Don't do a Gylfi Sigurdsson, pass it and then stand in the same position and go, you pass it over there. Don't do a Tom Davies and pass it out, pass it and move. And I think that's what that's what Moise Kean was doing yesterday. And again, he's learned that over time, because there was a time a few months back where he'd come off the bench in the last 15 and he just want to try and take everybody on, and he just want to try and get that spectacular goal, where he wasn't yesterday. He was doing the simplistic bits, but he was also showing his sheer strength. He was also showing his ability. He put a lovely chipped ball across. I think it led Theo Walcott or Seamus Coleman to put the ball across the box. It was a great pass. Again, he showed his strength. He was bullying players off the ball, and he showed that he can be a real lethal striker and a real menace to opposition teams. And I think he's got a massive future ahead of him, and I do think we'll see a lot more of Moise Kean come next season. I think Moise Kean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison will share those striker positions, and I hope so as well. I hope Moise Kean doesn't become one of those players that we see off the bench in the last 10, because he's not effective doing that. There's not enough creativity for Moise Kean in this side as it stands for him to come on in the last 10 and try and change something. Moise Kean's best position at the moment is starting a game of football and allowing him to feed into the game, use his strength, use his ability, use his pace, being in the right place at the right times, and he showed that yesterday, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic. But anyway, we scored, it goes to 1-1, and again, it's completely undeserved, but you take it. You're sitting there thinking, right, okay, completely undeserved, a little bit like the Southampton game, but whatever, I'll take it. If you're enjoying the scene, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, share the stream as well. We'll be talking about Leighton Baines in a moment. We'll be talking about the season as a whole briefly. Like I said, we'll be doing the season review on Wednesday and Friday, so don't forget to join us for that one. But yeah, again, we equalise, and you think, right, okay, sound, happy days, move on, belter, 1-1, let's get into half-time now. Momentum again on our side a little bit, don't deserve it, but let's get into half-time, 1-1, and then we'll move from there. But it's never the way with Everton, is it? It's never the way. Literally a minute, 2 minutes later, ball goes up the other side, we give away a cheap free kick again. I can't count on, two hands how many times we've given away stupid cheap free kicks on the edge of the box this season, not only since Carlo Ancelotti took over, but the entirety of the season. I don't know why our players insist on kicking people, on the edge of the box, or kicking people to give teams a fantastic free kick opportunity, because we're absolutely woeful at defending balls into the box. We've gotten better, but we're still not great at defending balls into the box. And this was another one. We give a stupid free kick away on the edge of the box. A ball comes in, and is it Stanislas or Solanke in the end? I think it's Solanke ends up getting the goal, heads it in past Jordan Pickford, and Jordan Pickford should be doing better for me. He dives far too early, and he tries to make a big wonderful look at me save instead of just covering the ball and getting his hand to it. But the ball comes in, it's a simple header, and I think Jarrad Branthwaite's probably a fault for this one, and I don't want to go too much in on Jarrad Branthwaite, because I think yesterday was probably his only game where he's looked not as great as he's looked in his previous two, because he was fantastic against Aston Villa, he was fantastic against Wolves when he stepped in, fantastic against Sheffield United as well, to be fair. But we got 2-1 down, and you're sort of thinking typical Everton. And at that point, I felt game over. At that point, I thought, I don't see Everton getting back into this game. We were very lucky to score the equaliser. It was a good ball. It was right place at the right time for Moise Kean. I don't see us creating anywhere near enough to get back into this game whatsoever. We go with 2-1 down. Like I said, Branthwaite probably should get closer to his man and probably should get up and knock the ball out and be a bit more dominant. But he's young. He's 18 years of age. He's only played, 3 or 4 games in the Premier League, so you can't really put it on him. But Jordan Pickford should do better as well. And ultimately, we go in at half time, 2-1 down, and you're thinking, can we change anything? Obviously, there's a plethora of substitutions that Carlo Ancelotti can make. We'll talk about Leighton Baines in a second, but Calvert-Lewin, Bernard, Gordon, Sidibe all come on in the second half. But nothing changed. Nothing changed. We didn't look like we wanted the game. We didn't look like we wanted to get back into it. We didn't look like we wanted to create anything. And the second half was pretty much a carbon copy of the first half, other than absolutely disgraceful goalkeeper mistake by Jordan Pickford. We'll get into the second half in just a moment then. I want to get into the live comments so we can keep up to them, so I'm not just jumping at them all at once. So, Sport Channel says, hey Cam, when does Gabriel make his mind up? There's been rumours today as the state that he'll make his mind up at some point this week. I don't think it'll be Everton, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I don't know any more than anybody else does, but I just haven't got a feeling it'll be Everton. Uden says Everton won't sign Sidibe. Yes, as well as Leighton Baines, it's worth noting that after yesterday's game, Martin Stecklenberg and Jabil Sidibe both left the club. Obviously, good luck to both in the future. Thanks to Sidibe for his year on loan. Again, he didn't have the greatest season, but he done well at times, and he was good cover at times for a much-needed rest for Seamus Coleman. And Stecklenberg, again, 4 years at the club, was happy to be the understudy for a lot of that time. And to be perfectly honest with you, if Jordan Pickford was the #1 goalkeeper, I wouldn't be happy to be the understudy. Obviously, he had that game against Manchester City, which we'll all remember, saving the 2 penalties, which was a fantastic performance by him. But good luck to both of them in the future. Gord says, I felt like the players could have thought that this game would be Baines' his final game as a Blue and give it us all, so Baines could go out on a high and a win. Yeah, well, listen, I said in the little video done on Leighton Baines yesterday that, you know, I'm not sitting here saying the players knew that it was going to be his last game, and they probably didn't know, and I don't think many people knew. Leighton Baines probably had an idea, but I think he probably made that decision, he announced that decision literally after the game, and that was when the video went up on social media and stuff. But the players still should have had an inclination. You know, they're with him in training every week. They hear the conversations, they hear his thoughts, they hear his opinions on what he wants to do. They knew that it was a tough decision for him, and they knew that it could very well have gone the other way. And like I said, at the very, very least, they should have went out on that pitch and performed for Leighton Baines, one of the best players Everton have ever signed, one of the best players to ever play in an Everton shirt, the best left back that Everton have ever had, in my opinion. You know, whether he's won a trophy or not, I've seen his arguments on social media. Oh, he can't be a legend because he hasn't won a trophy for the football club. He is an Everton legend. I know everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's fair enough, but I refuse to state that he's not an Everton legend. He is an Everton legend. 13 years of service, you know, over 39 goals, nearly 40 goals, 67 assists, 420 appearances, free kicks, penalties, chances where he could have gone to Bayern Munich, chances where he could have gone to Man United in the prime of his career. But he didn't. He stayed loyal to Everton because he was an Evertonian. He wanted to play for Everton. He shed a tear, for God's sake. Leighton Baines shed a tear after Everton were knocked out of the League Cup against Leicester in December, because he felt like it would be his last chance to win a trophy with Everton. He is an absolute Everton legend, and the fact that those players didn't bother turning up for him yesterday, it says a lot about them, let's be honest. Frankie says, is it just me? I would love to see a lot of people from the relegated sides in this team. Well, there's a couple of players. Listen, we're going to talk about transfers next week. Next week is going to be a majorly transfer week. You know, we'll have the, like I said, the review today, which we're doing at the moment. Then we're going to talk about the season. We're going to review the whole season on Wednesday and Friday as well. We're also going to have a player ratings video for the entire season. We're going to mark every player from the season. That'll be up at some point this week. And then next week we're going to talk transfers, purely transfers. We'll be talking about which players need to go, which players need to stay, positions in which we need to improve on, and some players from relegated sides that Everton could potentially sign as well. CJ says Poppadom Hands needs to go. Frankie says just sign Ben Foster, Fraser for Ben Foster, Fraser, Decore, and bring in somebody that loved working under Ancelotti, like Allen, potentially. Sport says Stecklenberg forgot he left, yeah. Obviously, Seamus Coleman's done a fantastic interview regarding Leighton Baines and talking about him, which is a brilliant read. Go and read that on the Echo. Jeff says, alright, Cam, the season is over. Woohoo, happy joy. Yeah, I'm absolutely made up that season was over. It was atrocious, wasn't it? It was absolutely atrocious. Eugene says Everton need to sell Jordan Pickford. We'll talk about Pickford in a second. And Sport Channel says sell Bernard and Tosson and Davis and Sigurdsson. So anyway, we'll go on to the second half then. You know, Everton come out for the second half, and like you said, you know, typically you would expect a reaction. Typically from a side that have just got back into the game and then conceded with minutes to go before the second half whistle, you would have expected a reaction. You would have expected us to come out and want to win that game of football, but we didn't. Again, it was very much of the same. It was Bournemouth trying to, you know, solidify their lead. I think Bournemouth were made aware at that point that I think Watford were being beaten, and I'm not too sure if Villa were winning at that point, but they'd have been made aware that they still had a lot to do to stay in this Premier League. And I think at that point it was Bournemouth were just wanting to get as many goals as possible, so at the very least they bowed out to the Premier League in a good fashion. Like I said, you would have expected the reaction genuinely from Everton, but there was no reaction. We come out in the second half, it's very much of the same. We don't really create, the opportunities. You'd think that would come out and would just get at Bournemouth, would just go, you know what, let's get at them and let's try and win this game of football. Let's get back into this game and let's finish the season on a positive. But we didn't. We didn't. Again, there was no desire, there was no energy, there was no urgency, there was very little quality. The midfield again proved that none of them are good enough for me. None of them are good enough to be in this Everton team next season. And I know you might have your argument for Andre Gomes, but in an ideal world, Andre Gomes isn't a starter for Everton. He's just not consistent enough. And, again, shortly after the half-time whistle, like I said, you felt that Bournemouth were getting at us. You felt that Bournemouth were going to create something. You knew that Everton were not going to get back into the game at that point. You knew that Everton weren't threatening. Obviously, you had the thought that when Gordon come on and Bernard that we might be able to create something, but we didn't. And anyway, Bournemouth go up the other side. I think it's Stanislas at this point. I'm not even too sure, but he puts a tame ball. It's a back pass. It's a back pass into Jordan Pickford, and Jordan Pickford lets it go under his arms, and it is. It's probably the worst mistake Jordan Pickford's made this season, and maybe even the worst mistake Jordan Pickford's made in an Everton shirt, and that is saying something. He didn't laugh after this one, and rightly so. I think if he'd have laughed after this one, I think he'd have been told at that point to just leave the pitch and never put an Everton shirt on ever again. He didn't laugh, and that was because it was absolutely, utterly embarrassing. It was literally a back pass. It was probably one of the tamest shots he'll have had hit at him this season, and it's disappointing because, again, Jordan Pickford's performance yesterday literally summed up his entire season. Made a cracking save in the first half, a really, really good save to keep it at 0-0. He had no right to make that save in many ways. Bournemouth going one-on-one with the keeper, the ball gets chipped and he makes a fantastic save. But again, sums up his season absolutely completely. He makes one fantastic save at 1 minute to keep us into the game, and then it just absolutely throws it out the water the next minute by making a stupid mistake. And this is a mistake that you can't back. You can't back, and there needs to be serious questions around Jordan Pickford now. And there was a rumour last week about Everton potentially being interested in Manchester United goalkeeper Sergio Romero, second in command. And I think if that is true, I think Everton should throw 20-25 million at Manchester United for Sergio Romero, because not only do I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, I think he's probably better than Jordan Pickford and would improve our team. Do I think Jordan Pickford will leave this summer? Probably not, because I don't think anyone will pay the money for him, and I also don't think that Everton are looking at goalkeeper as a priority position at the moment. Do Everton seriously need to keep tabs on Jordan Pickford and watch? Yes, we do, because again, he's making far too many of these mistakes week in, week out. And I don't want to be sitting here saying, oh, he made the fantastic save in the first half, though, because ultimately it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Jordan Pickford would have got an average 7, 8 out of 10 if he wouldn't have made that mistake, because he made the good save. And, yes, okay, he wasn't a fault for the first goal. You'd probably argue that he may have been a fault for the second, but that would have been being harsh. But that mistake it's just, you just can't support it whatsoever. You can't make any excuses for him anymore. He's doing this week in, week out now. And I said a couple of weeks ago when he had that reaction against Wolves and he smiled and he laughed at the camera, and I said, if there's one thing more worrying than his mistakes, it's his reaction. He didn't react poorly to this one. He looked embarrassed, and rightly so. Maybe Jordan Pickford needs that type of reality check that actually you're not that great. Actually, you're pretty shite. And he needs to be taken out of the England team completely. He needs to drop him from the England team, because he needs to step back and go, what am I doing in my career? Carlo Ancelotti said it 2 weeks ago. Carlo Ancelotti sat down and said 2 weeks ago in an interview, listen, he needs to take a good look at himself in the mirror and really, determine why he's making these mistakes and how he needs to improve, because it's not good enough. And again, another mistake yesterday. It was embarrassing. And for me, I'd be looking at goalkeepers in the summer. I would be looking at goalkeepers not only on the basis that I don't think Jordan Pickford's good enough, and I think that we could do with replacing him, but also on the basis is that we've got no understudy now. Is Jonas Larsdale good enough to play in the Premier League next season? Probably not. Is João Virginia ready? Definitely not. So I'd be definitely looking at a goalkeeper this summer, even if it's to just give him a kick up the arse. But ideally, it'll be someone that comes in. Not another 38-year-old goalkeeper who's coming in at the end of his career, who Pickford knows, I've got no fucking competition here. Bring a young goalkeeper in. Bring a goalkeeper at the start of the career in. Bring a goalkeeper who is, getting to the prime of the career, who wants to be playing Premier League football week in, week out. Bring in some competition. Don't bring in another grandad, and that's no disrespect to any of the goalkeepers we've had in the past. You know, Stecklenberg obviously come in at a time where we needed an understudy, and he done fantastically, and he was a good servant. But I don't want to bring in another player that's coming towards the back end of his career who is simply just going to be there to fill a place. I want us to bring in somebody who can actually challenge Jordan Pickford and actually make Jordan Pickford think, shit, if I don't improve my performances, I'm not going to be in this team very long. And that's what's needed ultimately at the end of the day. And again, I think it's desperate that we look for that. So we give away that goal. Like I said, it was a tame back pass, and he lets it go underneath him. It's a disgraceful mistake, and from that point on, it was definitely game over. Everton look very uninterested for the rest of the game. The best part of it being obviously Leighton Baines coming on for his last game in an Everton shirt. Yeah, look, we'll have to talk about it, don't we? Like I said, I feel a bit... I almost feel guilty talking about this game in the same conversation as Leighton Baines, because he is an absolute Everton legend, and Leighton Baines didn't once put in a performance like those absolute shithouses did yesterday in his entire Everton career. Every time he stepped onto that pitch, he gave his all, he gave it 110%, he fought, he wanted to win the game, he was a proper Evertonian, proper loyal professional footballer, come in, done his job, got out. And Seamus Coleman done a fantastic interview today, and I actually want to read it out because I think it's really, really important that as many people hear this as possible, and I'm sure everybody's heard it up to now because, you know, you would have if you're on social media. But Seamus Coleman was speaking to the Echo today about Leighton Baines, and he said, in my time at Everton, he is hands down one of, if not the best players I've played with. As a footballer, every day he was so professional, always in the gym, and always the best player in training, even until last week. This is testament to how he's looked after himself throughout his career. And then he went on to speak about his retirement. He said he genuinely didn't want to fuss or anyone talking about how good or important he was. He wanted to come in, do the job, and get out the back door. He has talked to me in the past about going to Goodison for the last 15-20 minutes of games with his mates as a supporter. So you can see there just how much Leighton Baines loved this football club and just how much it meant to him. And I think we all sort of, underneath the emotion and underneath the tears and underneath the sadness, I think we all knew that Leighton Baines is the type of player, you know, he was never on social media. I think he's got a private Instagram account and a private Twitter account for his friends to follow. He was never a big, oh my God, look at me, I've got this, I've got that celebrity status. And don't get it twisted, Leighton Baines was the best left back in world football from a period between probably 2010 and 2015. The best, certainly the best in the Premier League. I don't want to hear your Ashley Cole shite. I don't want to hear any of it. He was the best left back in world football. Did he ever go, look how good I am, look at my flashy skills, look at this? No, he got his head down, he turned up, he worked his arse off insane, and he put in consistent quality performance week in, week out, and he went home, and that was it. And then you didn't hear from him again until the pitches of training sessions or until he scored another worldie the week after. A true Everton legend, a true quality professional footballer, and a player that we will desperately miss, not only because of his status and not only because of how well he's done for Everton Football Club and the service that he's given us, but also for his ability. You know, 6 months ago, Leighton Baines fired one in to the top, you know, right-hand corner against, top left-hand corner, keeper's right hand against Leicester in the cup game. You know, that was only 6 months ago, showing he's still got that quality, he's still got that ability. So we will dearly miss him, and it's disappointing. But again, I'm happy that Leighton's made that decision. I'm happy that he's made that decision for himself, and I think deep down Leighton probably thought, this is my time to bow out, without there being a big fuss made, without it being, oh look at me, it's all about me. I hope that Everton sort out a testimonial, and I hope that Leighton Baines does agree to a testimony. He doesn't strike me as one of these players that wants to have all of the attention about him. Seamus Coleman said it there, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just wanted to walk away and that be it, because he is a quiet, you know, man. He is a player that just wants to, you know, just get on with his life, and that's fair enough. And I think he's left in the best possible way that he would have wanted, without all of the fuss and without all of the you know, that make it all about him. And you've got to respect him for that. You have to respect him for that. It's disappointing and it's very, very sad, but you know, you have to respect him for that. And like I said, it's very, 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 very annoying, disappointing, frustrating, upsetting that Leighton Baines' last game in an Everton shirt was that utterly dross performance by near enough every other Everton player, you know, for us to lose against the side that we're relegated. If you're enjoying this team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It means a massive, massive amount to me. We'll dive back into the live comments then before we go back into talking about the game. Frankie says, sell hole in midfield and goalkeeper need to spend a lot of cash. We do. Jeff says, sales requires someone who actually wants to buy. Exactly, which is why I don't think we'll sell Jordan Pickford this summer. Sport Channel says Davis could put a pass to Coleman. You could have seen Coleman's reaction. I wasn't looking out, mate. Jem says Sport Channel 100% agree. Kadeem says, would you take Tom Cantwell and Max Aarons from Norwich? I'd definitely take Max Aarons, mate. I'm a little bit reserved on Todd Cantwell at the moment because I don't know if he's exactly what we need, but I'll definitely take Max Aarons, sorry. Where are we? Uden says, who would you like to buy and sell in the Everton in the transfer window? Well, interesting you should say. We're going to do a live stream next Wednesday where we sit down and we talk about buying and selling and which players need to stay and which players need to go. Next Monday, you'll be happy to know, will be another Talk and Rubbish transfer show. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk about all of the players that we've been linked with, as well as many, many more, and then we'll do the buy and sell video next week. Wayne says, hey guys, how's everybody doing? I'm not too bad, mate. Hope you're doing well. Jem says, Cantwell and Adams all day would have them at EFC. Fair enough. Alex says, I'd happily pay for Delph's taxi at the airport, and I'd also pay for Marco Alonso to drive him. Yeah, listen, Delph's a player I'd be selling in the summer. No good. Everton career riddled with injuries, arguments with fans. Just get rid. Wayne says, calm lad, Moise was a bright spark yesterday. I'm a Moise fan. You might not have noticed, but for all of the people who didn't get, maybe now see his potential. I think he's a very, very good young player, and I think the issue with Moise Kean had is that when he was being brought on in the last 5 or 10 minutes of games, he was trying to do too much. He was trying to impress too much. He was trying to take 20 players on. He was trying to score from 35 yards because he wanted to have that big wow moment to impress the manager. Whereas when Ancelotti's come in and put his arm around him, I think Ancelotti's had a few conversations to say, you don't need to do all that. You will impress me by picking the ball up, giving it and going. Simple passes, simple movement, showing your strength, showing your ability, being in the right places at the right time. That impresses me more than you're trying to take 17 players on and hit it from 45 yards. That doesn't impress me because 99.9% of the time that doesn't come off and you just look worse for it. And that's what Moise Kean showed yesterday. He was given the start, he was doing the simple bits, he was showing his strength, he was showing his ability, and he was performing fantastically. And like I said, I think Moise Kean definitely deserves his opportunities, and any Everton fan that's thinking he's not good enough, I think we should reserve the reservations. I really, really do for now. Alex says that performance on Moise was better than DCL's performance since the restart. Fair enough. Richie says, any players you would like the look of who have been mentioned? I look the look of Sarr from Watford, be chuffed if we get him. Sidigu in, Walcott, Sigurdsson, Bernard, Pickford out. I'd love Sarr. I think he's a very good player. Sangare as well, Jack Grealish, all players that were in and around or have relegated this season that I'd love to bring into the football club. Max Adams, another one who I know was mentioned briefly there. Sport Channel says, did Bernard ever touch the ball in the game? I don't think so, mate, and if he did, it wasn't of any significance. Again, Bernard's had a woeful season, an absolutely woeful season, and he'd be a player that I'd be looking at as well, certainly considering his wages at £120,000 a week I think he's on. James says, Pickford stays a number that AFC now, big time, about time too. The lad's been way average for a while now. It's hard to disagree with that, Jem, I agree. Wimmy says he is full of beans and looks like he cares more than most of our players next season. With some quality players, think Moise will massively improve. I agree. James says agree. Bernard not nearly asked enough about trying to affect the games. Not good. Well, I was watching the player ratings, Toffee TV's player ratings yesterday. I'm sure you've all seen it. Obviously, you'll all know Toffee TV. But Ped was doing the player ratings, and Ped was talking about Bernard and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he said that those two players were on for 20 minutes yesterday. And I was in the bath, and when he said that, I nearly fucking slipped, and I was lying down, but I nearly just fucking fell out the bath because I thought, how were those two players on for 20 minutes? I thought after the game, obviously I wasn't paying too much attention to how long Bernard was on the pitch because I was absolutely flooded of tears at the thought that Leighton Baines had played his last game in an Everton shirt and was just being twatted by a relegated side. But I thought they were on for 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes maximum, and they didn't really have an effect on the game, but they were on for 25 minutes. They were on for over half of the second half, and neither of them done anything. Again, I'm not just singling out Bernard here and going, well, I'll give Dominic Calvert-Lewin a free pass. No, Dom hasn't been anywhere near good enough since the restart, but I'm willing to give Dom a certain level of leeway because of how good he's been this season and how improved he's been this season. Not for Bernard. For me, he's been average. I think he scored 3 Premier League goals, and for a winger and a player that's got all of this ability and all of this quality, he's not consistent enough. And for me, if he's going to have another season like that, I'd try and get some money for him and get him off the wage bill in the summer, if I'm being honest with you. If you're enjoying the scene, by the way, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Wimmy says, who is this Leighton Baines? You mean Leighton Baines? That was a spelling difference for anybody that didn't know. Alex says, what formation do you want us to play next season? I don't know what formation I want us to play, but I think we'll play 4-4-2. I think Carlo Ancelotti's going to buy for a 4-4-2, and I think that's for the formation that he ideally likes to look at the most and really, really is taken to the most. Wimmy says, nice, one that works would be nice, Alex. Jeff says, Sam, thanks. Wimmy, really happy the season is over now and Carlo can get to work. Me too, mate. Wimmy says only a matter of time before Alan is confirmed. Papadom would have saved that shot, but we'll have to wait and see about Alan. Jeff says hopefully Wimmy, and Chris says hi pal, hope you're well. I'm not too bad, Chris, I'm not too bad. I hope you're doing well yourself. Anyway, let's get back into it then. So, you know, like you said, Carlo Ancelotti made some changes that he expected the game to have changed. It did. Anthony Gordon come on and was probably the best out of the changes other than Leighton Baines. Leighton Baines was very clearly the best. The others, Calvert-Lewin, Bernard, Sidibe didn't do anything, didn't impact the game whatsoever for the time they were on. It was embarrassing how little he done. Anthony Gordon, like I said, he come on, he at least tried to, you know, look like he was trying to get us forward, look like he was trying to create something, look like he was a bit of a breath of fresh air. He was, you know, trying to get us back into the game. Unfortunately, you know, he couldn't do that on his own, so we didn't get back into the game. But Leighton Baines, listen, I want to spend a minute talking about Leighton Baines, and I know we've spoken about him an awful lot already, but Leighton Baines come on yesterday, 35 years of age, probably knowing in his head that he was going to be retired and that was going to be his last game in an Everton shirt. In fact, I think he definitely knew in his head that that was the case. He come on and he made more of an impact than any of the other 4 substitutions, and he had a better game than any other defenders did yesterday, and he was on for 20-25 minutes. He made a last-ditch tackle which certainly denied Bournemouth from going 3-1 up at the time. You know, it was an easy one-on-one opportunity if he doesn't make that challenge. He was getting up the pitch, he was using the ball, he was gliding into midfield. He showed that even at 35 years old and a player that was, you know, very shortly going to retire, he showed that he still had that quality, he showed that he still had that passion, he showed that he had that desire. And if everybody around him had the same energy and had the same passion and had the same desire as Leighton Baines, then we'd have won that game yesterday quite comfortably. And it's saddening that Leighton Baines is one of the last players to really, I feel, care about Everton, and now he's retired, because there's too many of those players that just simply don't care. And they showed that yesterday. They showed the two colours yesterday. They had an opportunity to go, you know what, these are, you know, in a relegation fight, they're probably going to get relegated, but we don't give a fuck. Let's go out and let's win this game of football. He had a massive opportunity to do that yesterday, and he didn't. He didn't show any of it. And I'm just absolutely made up that this season is over. I'm absolutely over the moon, and it's ended in the worst way possible. It's ended with an Everton legend leaving the football club and us being beaten by a side that were relegated on the day. But I'm just absolutely made up that it's over. You know, 12th position in the league, the worst position since the, you know, in 16 years. And obviously, like I said, we'll do the season review on Wednesday and Thursday, and we're going to do a play ratings for all of the players as well. But after that, I think we need to just put this one to side and not really talk about it again. It's been again a roller coaster one. I think it's been full of more negatives than positives. Obviously, the massive positive is now that Carlo Ancelotti is the manager, and that we're going into a transfer window actually positive after a negative season, which is a change. But the season itself was just dross, wasn't it? It was absolutely utter dross. And it's a massive summer ahead for Carlo Ancelotti, and massive summer ahead for Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands. Look, Ancelotti spoke again yesterday about how we won't be going into next season with this same team. We'll be improving it massively. There'll be a lot more quality. There'll be a lot better players in the squad, and he spoke about that consistently over the last couple of weeks or so, and I think it's important that he has done that, because it's quite clear that these players aren't good enough, and that either they're not good enough or they don't try hard enough, and either way, don't want to see them in an Everton shirt for either of those reasons. And like I said, I am excited. I can't wait to next week to sit down, talk about transfers, talk about who stays, who goes, and really get our hands into, you know, the transfer market. And I hope that Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands, you know, they're probably not sitting down today because they're probably taking a couple of weeks off at least, but I hope that they'll be working hard. And, you know, as soon as that transfer window opened yesterday, Marcel Brands should have been making calls, he should have been making contacts. As soon as Pierre-Emile Højbjerg turned around the other day and said, I don't want to come, it should have been, right, cross your name off, we go to the next one, because the hard work starts here. Because if we go into next season with Tom Davies as a starter, Andre Gomes as a starter, Gylfi Sigurdsson as a starter, Theo Walcott as a starter, Bernard as a starter, Iwobi as a starter, we're in massive trouble, because those players for me just simply aren't good enough or aren't consistent enough. It's alright Andre Gomes having a boss game every now and then, it's alright Bernard having a boss game every now and then, but they don't do it consistent enough, and for me that means you're not good enough. So there's a massive summer ahead, and yesterday just epitomised that for me. Yesterday just showed how desperate we need to bring in players and how desperate we need you know, to improve this squad in the summer. Yes, it was disappointing the way to end the season, but it was a shocking season, wasn't it? Let's be perfectly honest. Where are we then? Wayne says all of our midfielders could form together like Power Rangers to make one mega average midfielder. Yeah, like the Megazord. They'd be as slow as the Megazord as well, to be honest with you. Sport Channel says, how do you think that our backup left back will be now? Who do you think will our backup left back and right back position to? Well, right back, I think Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands will have to sit down over the next week or so, or whenever it may be, and really talk about John Joe Kenny and determine how well he's been at Schalke and whether he is going to come in and take up the backup right back or the right back to challenge Seamus Coleman next season. If not, if they don't deem him good enough, if they think he needs another loan out, then we'll have to purchase a backup right back. And in terms of left back, I think we'll go out and buy one, to be honest, because I think the club were massively hoping that Leighton Baines had signed that new deal, and Leighton Baines made that decision purely on his own, and you have to respect that. But I think the club were massively hoping that Leighton had signed that 1 year extension, get another year out of him, and then hopefully in that year would see the young lad Nkunku sort of improve and get a few games in the under-23s and then be able to push him into the first team next season. I don't think he's ready for the first team at the moment, and I do think we'll potentially go out and buy a left back, even if it's just somebody for cover who can come in and do a job, even if it's just somebody on loan like it was for Jabril Sidibe this season. William says left back is now a position we need to bring cover in for. I agree. Chris says Delph played well at left back for City, so could he be the backup? No. I don't want Delph in an Everton shirt again, to be perfectly honest with you. For me, Fabian Delph has had the season mixed with average performances, injuries, and arguing with fans for trying to say that players don't try hard enough, and the fan was absolutely right to say that the players don't try hard enough. So for me, I'd just say, you know what, see you later, mate. You're not good enough for the start, and you've got a fucking cheek to come in and do what you've done, and I even argue with fans when they were putting in performances where we were being beaten by sides that have got no right to come and beat us. So, you know, I'd sell him. Jeff says more like a transformer, Wormy. Optimus not prime. There you go. Wormy says, yeah, just a right back, a left back, a centre back, a goalkeeper, 3 midfielders, a left wing, right wing, and we'll be good. Exactly, mate, exactly. You can't disagree with that. Jem says, I think a bit of dynamism in the middle from a good centre mid will give the squad a kick up the arse. Yeah, I think it will. And I think, you know, we may be just one centre midfielder away from some of the average players turning up the performances and improving, like your Andre Gomez's and dare I say your Alex Iwobi's, but I still don't think those players are good enough. If we want to be, and again, I keep referring to the Champions League challenging side and a Premier League winning team, that's not coming from me, that's not coming from any Everton fan, that's not coming from anyone in the live comments, that's not coming from any fan watching this as a YouTube video, that's coming from the club, that's coming from Denise Barrett Baxendale, that's coming from Carlo Ancelotti. If Carlo Ancelotti, and I love Carlo Ancelotti, and if anybody is going to take us to challenging for the Premier League and playing in the Champions League, it will be him. And I love what, you know, his energy and his passion to come out, and I also love that he's backing it up by saying, and we will be improving. But if he's coming out and saying this team should be challenging the Champions League, then we need to reflect that in the transfer window. We can't say, well, let's bring one player in and hope Andre Gomez improves. Andre Gomez isn't good enough to play in a Champions League side. He's not, whether you like it or not. Neither is Gylfi Sigurdsson, neither is Tom Davis. So we need to bring players in, and we need to make those changes. Richard says, hi Cam, love your channel. Thank you very much, Richard, really appreciate it. Doesn't matter who's in charge. Well, you got Gomez, Davis and Sigurdsson in the midfield, you'll never be any better than an average mid-table team. I agree. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Jeff says, Richard, getting 12th with that midfield was a miracle. Well, Carlo Ancelotti performed a miracle to come in. Think of the games that Carlo Ancelotti won when he come in, and again, I'll talk about this when we do the season review on Friday and we talk about Carlo Ancelotti. You know, the game against Watford, we wouldn't have won under Marco Silva. The game against Newcastle away from home, we wouldn't have won under Marco Silva. We probably wouldn't have beat Sheffield United. We probably wouldn't have got a point in the Merseyside derby. We wouldn't have beat Leicester after the Merseyside derby. How many games of Burnley on Boxing Day when we you know, in his first game where we absolutely grinded out that win, how many points have we picked up on Ancelotti that we almost certainly wouldn't have picked up under previous managers? It shows the fact that prior to the Tottenham game we were in a genuine fight for European football, shows how well Carlo Ancelotti's done so far with the very little quality that he's got in this squad. And now he's looked at that and he's gone, right, okay, this team is only going to be able to take me to a certain position, and if we're going to want to go further than that, and Carlo Ancelotti isn't going to settle for 12th position in the Premier League. I think that's his lowest position he's finished ever as a manager. I don't think he's finished outside the top 6 ever in his managerial career, and certainly not when he's had a full season with a team. So he isn't going to settle for 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th next season. He wants to be in and around that top 6 fighting, and if he wants to do that, the club need to back him, and Marcel Brands need to find the right players, and this is why it's a massive transfer window for Marcel Brands, and I can't wait to sit down and talk about it within the next coming weeks or so. James says RJ is right. We need a good box-to-box centre midfielder whose lack of legs, and we have it in there. William says, we can laugh now, it's over. Jeff says, it's tough to find a good comeback to Optimus, not Prime. It's fantastic, mate. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Underground says, John Joe Kenny could be the right back we need, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Jeff said, John Joe Kenny is a Chag Hibbit. William says, yeah, it is, Jeff, but Volterov isn't a bad effort. Eugene says, I think Leighton Baines will stay at Everton and become a coach alongside Carlo Ancelotti. He'll be behind the scenes at Everton. You know what? Do you want my honest opinion? And it kills me saying this, and I know I'm probably going to get loads of people getting at me in the comments and maybe disliking or whatever, but I just don't think he will. Maybe in the future, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, he might come back as a coach, or he might come back as a ambassador type of figure. But at the moment, I think Leighton Baines just wants to go and enjoy some time with his family. And you know what? It's well earned. None of us can turn around and say he doesn't deserve that. None of us can turn around and hold a grudge that he doesn't want to step in and become a coach. I think it's evident that Carlo Ancelotti desperately wants him to stay at the football club. You know, he's known him for 6 months, and he's spoken about how much he wants him to stay on the football club, whether it be as a player or a coach or just somebody that's in the dressing room as a motivational speaker. I think he sees how important Leighton Baines is to this team and how important Leighton Baines is to the younger players, as well as a role model to look up to in terms of how well he's done in his career, and you know, the potential that he has achieved from a young lad coming in from Wigan, £6 million to be the best left back in the world and stay loyal and keep that loyalty and keep those quality performances up consistently. I think Carlo Ancelotti knows how much of a prized asset Leighton Baines to be at the football club. But if I'm being honest, I think Leighton Baines will ride off into the sunset and go and enjoy some time with his family, because it just strikes me as that type of play. You know, he didn't want the big send-off. He didn't want it to be all about him. He just strikes me as a player that, I'm not saying he'll completely remove himself from Everton, but he doesn't strike me as somebody that'll go on to be a pundit or that'll go on to be sitting there talking up, you know, Sky's arse for other teams. He just strikes me as a player that'll go off, enjoy some time with his family, and then maybe potentially come back to the club in some form in the next few years or so. But I don't think he will straight away. Jem says, yeah, I'm not sold on Kenny either. He looks shaky, still tackling runners down that side and still caught out. Yeah, defensively I'm really not sold on him. I think he'd be very similar to Sidibe, to be honest. Good, decent going forward, but defensively he's definitely not, you know, good enough at the moment, certainly from what I've seen so far at Schalke. Jeff says, Eugene, I honestly think Baines will be happier just being a fan. I agree, mate, I agree. He also said Gemma's positioning is awful, consistently gets caught out. That's about John Joe Kenny, of course, not Leighton Baines. Frankie says, dream CM signing, that is realistic. Either Boubacar Samare or Ibrahim Sangare. To be honest with you, I'd love them. I know people have brought out the shouts for Decore. I'm not convinced on Decore, to be honest with you. I think 2 seasons ago I'd have loved him at Everton, but I just don't think he's done much in that time. But Samare or Sangare I'd absolutely love. Underground says, that gigantic Hernandez fella at Norwich is a decent shout. William says, if you thought that about Bernard and Don, what about Gylfi? How long did he play? I'm starting to think he might be a figment of our imaginations. I was disappointed in Calvert-Lewin and Bernard. I'm not asked about Gylfi Sigurdsson anymore. He performs the same week in, week out. He's just shite, isn't he? Josh says, how many signings do you reckon we'll make? 5. If I'm being honest with you, I think we'll make 5. 3 quality signings and then maybe a loan to, you know, to fill in a backup position at left back and maybe a goalkeeper. Again, I don't think we'll make a big signing for goalkeeper because I don't think we'll be able to shift Jordan Pickford. Underground says 5 a new midfield. I agree, 5. Wimmy says hopefully at least 5. We'll be lucky. Wimmy says Marcel has to figure out who Sigurdsson is because he's never seen him. Chris says, would you take Adams and Lewis from Norwich? I would, mate, but only for the right price. I think they'll want an awful lot of money for them. Underground says, most players we have are sub-impacts, not enough energy. I agree. Eugene says, Jeremy Boga, potentially. Underground says, remember Cuco Martina? Yeah, he was dreadful, wasn't he? Mitch says, is it just me or did I cry when it was announced Baines was retiring? I had a tear, mate. I had a tear in me. I can't lie. Listen, again, it's not only is it the retirement, not only is it the memories and the years of service he's given us, the fact that he retired in that game after that performance and the fact that he retired in an empty Goodison Park. I know that's what he would have wanted and I appreciate and I understand that, but as a fan, it just doesn't sit nicely, does it? It really doesn't. Sports says, we need a left winger, Corner, Bernard and Balassi. Yeah, I agree. I think we probably need 2 wingers, to be honest with you, left and right. But there you go. Mim says, but Balassi and Bernard could be the not legs of the Megazoid. Jeff says, Sky such bellend. They got a 70-day transfer window countdown clock popping up on the screen. They love it, don't they? They love wheeling Jim White out every now and then. While he's not chatting shit on TalkSport about some bollocks, they wheel him out and give him a yellow tie and go, yeah, go and stand there and go, and we've got news. And then everyone just goes, oh, it's Jim White. It's full of shit. It's full of Sky Sports News deadline day and Sky Sports News transfer. They make transfers up. They make transfers up to benefit Sky Bet. They do. They've done it with Zaha. They've done it with Richarlison. They make shit up. Raymond says, I played the shit out of you, Jeff. Underground says, Everton signed way too many big club rejects. I agree. We need to be looking at players that are at the start of their career who are aiming to impress and who are aiming to, really, really make an impact, not players at the end of the career who don't care. Lavid says, so much was expected of Gomez. I was surprised you had him since injury. Again, maybe when I've seen this being mentioned a couple of times and I've started to believe it a little bit more the more I've read it. Maybe we overhyped Andre Gomez because he was better than anything we had. Maybe we overhyped Andre Gomez because he was much better than Tom Davies. He was much better than Gylfi Sigurdsson. He was much better than Fabian Delph. Maybe we believed Andre Gomez was a better football player than he actually is. I think he's a good football player. I think he's very good on the ball. I think he's very silky. I also think he's a boss fella and a really, really nice man. But is he exactly what we need at the moment? I don't think he is. We definitely don't need Fabian Delph's 4-channel. Jem says, 100% agree. If not for Ancelotti and Big Dunk, we would have went down. I agree. I think we'd have been in a relegation fight, definitely, if it wasn't for Carlo Ancelotti and the impact he's had on this team. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. 73 people currently watching. A massive, massive thank you. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as well. Really do appreciate it. Get your comments in. We're getting through them, of course. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Only takes a second. We'll have loads of content. Even though the season's up, we'll have loads of content over the next couple of weeks or so. So please, please do stay subscribed. Also subscribe if you're new. Tuesday says, Cam, a team of kids could have done better. It's hard to disagree, mate. It's hard to disagree. Chris says, Everton need a goalkeeper, right back, centre back, left back, new midfield and 2 wingers. So basically every position apart from Holgate, Dean, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. It's hard to disagree with that one, mate. Jem says, we need to listen to Ancelotti and not brands and stop buying top club casts off. We need the Don to spot the talent and soft lad to just go and buy them. Potentially. Jess says, we wish people would stop blaming brands for everything. The previous managers were involved in all transfers. Yeah, listen, it's not all at fault for brands. We look at players and we think, oh, Sigurdsson's shit. Oh, Davis isn't good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, brands has probably not held himself in the best of lights with Fabian Delph or Alex Iwobi, but certainly Alex Iwobi, he's a player that can improve. He's a player that could potentially have a part to play in this squad. Some of the players that we've spent so much money on in recent years have been of those of other managers, of those of other regimes, and I'm so excited for this transfer window. I really, really am. I can't wait. I can't wait to see who we bring in. I can't wait to see what our team looks like at the start of next season, because I honestly think it'll be so different. Toothy says, Cam, your live seems a great. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. William says, I'm going to be devastated when the ghost goes and I have no one to blame for everything. Philip Mason says, great team, Cam. Thank you very much, Philip. Really appreciate it. Jeff says, Wormy, you've been on the numbers of the Hyperman today. Eugene says, if Everton get the right players when the transfer window opens and now we'll be in Europe next season, we'll be definitely fighting for it. Jem says, 72 watching, hit the like button. It's only 24. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate everyone for getting involved. If you get involved in the live comments as well, get your comments in and we'll read them. Jem says, great team, Cam. Great chat with other like-minded Blues and all round good eggs. Thank you very much. And Sport says, how Martinez is Atlanta United huge fan. Is he? Didn't know that. Underground, it is a massive waste. And Jeff says, Branthwaite, Dean and Kunku Kean are all brand buys. Exactly. And they've all done really well. Certainly Branthwaite, obviously, he's looking fantastic. Luca Dean, again, has been a revelation. Moise Kean has done really, really well. I think Richarlison was a Marcel Brands buy as well, was he not? Or just before Marcel Brands. Jonathan says, hi, Gam, hi, mate. So anyway, listen, just to sum up the last game review of the season, dreadful way to end the season. Dreadful way for Leighton Baines to end his Everton career. Absolutely respect his decision, and I understand that was the way he wanted to do it, to bow out and without all of the fuss and without all of the the look at me, I'm leaving the football club. 100% appreciate that was the case. But ultimately, again, that game wraps up a pretty abysmal season. Worst finish for 16 years in the Premier League, finishing 12th. And although there were some positives to take out of it, the biggest one being Carlo Ancelotti taking over as a manager, and the biggest one being that we can all now sort of forget about that season after Friday because we're going to do a review, but we can all sort of forget about it, move on and look forward to the transfer window. I can't wait. I honestly can't wait for the transfer news, seeing who we bring in, seeing who we're after, seeing how the squad will line up next season. I really, really can't wait. It's going to be fantastic because we've got a lot of positives to look forward to, and it shouldn't all be doom and gloom, and it shouldn't all be negative. It was dreadful yesterday. It was absolutely shite, but it won't be like that next season. Once Carlo Ancelotti's had the transfer window and he's had the opportunity to bring his players in and he's had the opportunity to implement his tactics correctly on the players that he wants and not just players that he's being given, then I think we could be looking in a really strong position next season, and I cannot wait for that. It's good that we get this season out the way now. Yes, it's ended in pretty much the same fashion as to which it started. And, yes, it's ended really, really disappointingly in terms of defeat and obviously the last game for Leighton Baines. But, we have to look forward. We have to be positive and we have to be excited about the future because there's got a lot to be excited about with Calvert-Lewin, what am I talking about? With Carlo Ancelotti as the manager. I am really, really excited and I cannot wait for the next season. Like I said, we'll have a season review out. It's going to be split over 2 parts. It'll be from the first game of the season until the sacking of Marco Silva. That'll be on Wednesday, and then we'll have from Duncan Ferguson taking over to the last game of the season under Carlo Ancelotti on Friday. We'll have that in 2 parts because it's going to be quite a big live stream. We will be joined by Cornet for one of those live streams as well. At some point throughout the week, we're going to have a massive player ratings video as well. It'll be a video, not a live stream, where we go through every single player to put the Everton shirt on in the league or in the cup or in any competition this season and grade them in the same fashion as we do after every game. So that'll be should be a good video as well. And then of course, once we've got the season review out the way, once we've talked about this season for one last time, we'll be straight into transfer news. The Talking Rubbish transfer show will return. We'll have news videos left, right and centre. We'll have videos discussing ins and outs, how we should line up next season, who needs to stay, who needs to go. There's going to be a load of content. So it's the end of the season, but the content will be as much, if not more, than it has ever been. So if you're enjoying the streams, if you've enjoyed the content, please do hit the like button. It means a massive, massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Like I said, we've got loads and loads of stuff coming through. Big thanks to everybody who has already subscribed, and a massive thanks to everybody for the support over the course of this season. It means a massive, massive amount to me. Where are we in the comments then before we finish up? Sport Channel says, imagine we had the Dharma Traore. Imagine. Chris says, Branthwaite was 2 goal for my local club, Carlisle. Unfortunately, he's a fantastic player. He is a fantastic player. Wimmy says, I think Buffet. Where are we? I've gone then. Wimmy says, I think Buffet at Woeful Brands hasn't done that bad. I agree. Everton TV says, just can't wait for the transfer window. Me too, mate. Frankie says, do I get a doner kebab or a Chinese? Chinese for me, mate. All day long. Nev says, don't buy big team cast-offs. Hungry players who will die for the club, like Sir Peter Reid, Tim Cahill. Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. Jem says, sick of hearing players once they've signed. My best position is number 10. We've got about 10 of them. Exactly. We need to bring in players that are capable of playing in various different positions and can change. Not players that go, right, well, I'm a number 9. Not number 9, that's a bad example. I'm a number 10 or I'm a number 8, and that's it. We need players that can play in the 10, in the 8, in the 6, wherever. We can't just have players that are solely focused on one position. Certainly not for stupid amounts of money. Lavit said, I know I've asked this before, but how concerned are you and the fans about financial fair play? Not very, mate, not very concerned. We're not in Europe, so I don't see the point in following it particularly, but I'm not really concerned. I think we've got a lot of players to sell as well as bring in. Jeff says, Chris, really sorry to deprive Carlisle of him so soon. I remember losing the dressing room. It's devastating. Chris says, take care, stay safe, pal, see you next season. Thank you very much. Well, I'll be doing live streams left, right and centre, so don't have to wait till next season, mate. You'll see me on Wednesday if you're getting involved. Wim says, nah, Frankie, you get chicken, shacking it, bruv. Hernandez says, all the best, mate. Have a great one. Thank you very much, Hernandez. Thank you very much for all of the support. Really appreciate it. Wim says, I drank a lot of coffee. Tuesday Delaney says, I have the new Everton shirt. It's brilliant, and I have Dean number 12. Fantastic. About that, I don't know whether Dean's going to change his number. Sorry to say, but, I've got this new shirt, as you can see. It's fantastic, I agree. James says, get Alan and Sangari, and I agree. Matthew says, are you getting Network Michael D on? I'll be on his channel on Thursday, the Blue Boys Network, so look out for that one. I'm not too sure if it's a live stream or it's a video, to be honest with you, but I'll be on there. Jeff says, cheers, Cam. See you later. Thank you very much. You can just see about the Toffees and Tea on Wednesday. Yeah, we will be live 5:15 on Wednesday. Hernandez says, bring the Ask Me Anything videos back. Lol, good times. We'll have them back, mate. We'll have loads of Ask Me Anything streams over the next couple of weeks. I think the Talking About Transfer show next week is going to be an open one. It's going to be one where I sit back And if you're in the live comments, if you can make it, it'll be Wednesday. It'll be next Monday, 5:15 p.m. And you throw players at me, and I don't really mark them on rumour, but I mark them on whether I'd like them or not, practically, at Everton Football Club. Richard says, spot on about Leighton Baines, Cameron, absolute Everton legend, top class defender and player, will be sorely missed by everybody. Wish him a happy retirement. One of the Everton greats. Me too. Jem says, cheers, Cam. Thanks very much. Wimmy says, Cam didn't read my comments. I thought Gylfi Zoid only appearing to the point where it won't be next. That was my best one. I missed it, mate. Sorry, I missed it. Jem says, RJ, spot on. I'm a massive fan of his. Total loyalty from him, and when we've been so crap. Spot on. And Wimmy says, thanks, guys. And Jem says, take care, guys. And Jem says, Cam, thanks again, mate. No worries, no worries. Thank you very much, Jem, for getting involved. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. Really, really do appreciate it. Like I said, loads and loads of videos and streams coming in the future. If you've enjoyed, please do hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. We'll be back with the review of the season. Wednesday will be the first part of it, 5:15 p.m. Join us then, and then Friday will be the second part of it, and then of course next week we'll go into all of the transfer talk. If there's any transfer talk, by the way, this week we'll cover it as well. We won't just go on, we won't talk about that till next week. If anything comes up, anything major, we'll of course cover it on the channel. Big thanks for watching. I want to end the stream by saying again a massive thanks to Leighton Baines, an absolute Everton legend, an Everton icon, 13 years in a blue shirt, over 400 appearances, an absolute Everton legend, stuck with us at times when he could have easily gone to other clubs to win major trophies, to be paid probably 3-4 times as much as he was on at Everton, but he didn't. He stuck with the Blues. He was a true Evertonian, and I just want to say thank you for everything that you've given to this football club. Enjoy your retirement, mate. You absolutely 100% deserve it, more than any player I've seen in an Everton shirt for a long time. So enjoy it. I hope to see you again at Goodison Park or Finch Farm in an Everton shirt, but I completely understand if you want to go out and just enjoy your time with your family. Thank you very much for everything. Thanks for all of the support over the season. Like I said, it doesn't end here. We'll be live on Wednesday. We'll be live on Friday. We'll have a video throughout the week as well. We've got loads of content coming, so please do subscribe if you're new. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.